Good afternoon from Seattle, Washington. My name is Sky Gaige, and you're welcome to iAfrica. Merry Christmas to each and everyone that is watching, and a Happy New Year in advance to our brothers and Christian brothers and sisters that are celebrating Jesus' birthday, which is Christmas today. I say Merry Christmas to each and every one of you and to your families. Like I said, I am Sky Gaige, and today with me I have Mr. Papa Faal, who is one of the members that staged an attempted coup back in 2014 on December 30th. Him and eight other gentlemen decided to topple the former President Jammeh, but then unfortunately it was unsuccessful. But today we have them on iAfrica. We have him actually, Mr. Papa Fal, on iAfrica to talk about what happened, the plans, the process, and the results of the coup. And to you, Papa, Mr. Fal, can you please introduce yourself to our viewers?
Yes, yeah. How are you?
Fine,
I
thank you.
am. It's really good to be here today to talk to the Gambian people and the rest of the world. Um, Happy New Year's and Merry Christmas to everybody. My name is Papa Faal. I was born in Brikama and I grew up in Brikama. I attended Muslim high school from 1983 to 1988, and after graduating, I stayed here for a little while before going to the U.S. To pursue education. And I've been in the United States for over 26 years, and I served in the U.S. military, the Air Force, and the Army. I did a tour in Afghanistan, and I had two kids, a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I'm married happily. And for schooling, I have a master's degree in technology management and another master's in MBA, and currently pursuing my doctorate in business administration with focus in technology. In a
Great.
nutshell, that's me.
Okay. Well,
Yes.
congratulations on all those achievements, Mr. Fal.
Yes. Thank you.
Um, so before we go into the program, I just wanted to observe the late victims that were part of the December 30th, who were
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Njaga Jai, the late Njaga Jai,
Mm-hmm.
the late Lamin Sane, and also Alaji
Alaji
Nyasi.
Jaya, yes,
And
yes.
I send my condolences to their families and say that I'm so sorry for their loss.
Mm-hmm.
They died as heroes trying to salvage the Gambia from tyranny, and we really do appreciate your efforts, all of you people took part in this, and just wanted to say that we really appreciate it, and we understand that it was all for a better Gambia, which we have today, Alhamdulillah. So let me just go through the poll. Actually, the eight gentlemen that were part of the events that happened on December 30th, 2014 on the ground. And those were yourself, of course, Mr. Fal. We also have Lamin Baro, Momodou Njai, Musa Sar, Alaji Nyasi, late Alaji Nyasi. We also have Mr. Bojang, the late Lamin Sane, and also the late Njaga Jan.
Yes.
So, okay, there has been um, talks amongst Gambians, um, and they were not sure about the actual reason why this happened, why you people decided to stage a coup.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that that is why you are here to clear the air and also tell us the plans that you guys have in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you can just give us a reason or the reason why you people decided to stage a coup
Mm-hmm.
whilst Mr. President, I mean, the former President Jammeh was still in power.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to give a whole entire history about um, the past 22 years or since 1994. Um, because I believe that Gambians, they lived it themselves. Um, Anytime a citizen of the Gambia, or any country for that matter, um, are subjugated and their rights are denied, they, the liberties that they supposed to have was denied by their leaders. Um, it is very, very tough for that citizenry to really get themselves out of that encroachment, because um, usually the people who are in the position of Jame, they use several means to remain in power. That includes the rigging of the election, the, the, the impositions of their ideologies and ideas onto the citizenry, and in doing so also they will use force to ensure that the citizenry is tamed. They are incapacitated, they can't do anything. As we see, the Gambian people went through so much. And we in the diaspora, I mean, when Yahya Jammeh took over power, the promises that he has given, we realized that that changed very quickly as soon as he got in, when he changed his uniform with the civilian clothes so he can stay in power. We know that the Gambian people were willing to give him a chance to see where he can be able to take the country. Not to say that the previous government was inept or in a bad shape, but the fact that the coup d'etat happened, the overthrow of a democratically elected government had happened, we saw a split, I would say, in the citizenry. There are some who want to give Jammeh a chance, and there are some who are vehemently against a coup. I mean, they did not voice it loudly, but we know that they had some reservation about it. But they all want to see where it is going to lead. We in the diaspora knew for long, not from the beginning, but earlier on, that the direction that the country was going was not the direction that we would want our country to go. Now, in the diaspora, there are so many people who have, who began really campaigning. We have the Gambia L, where there was the first interactive online medium where Gambians can come in and talk about the issues and their dissatisfactions and what had been going on and the policies that the Jammeh regime was implementing. So it grew a lot. And we have the Sankaris and the Bankamanis, and so we will have demonstrations way back in the 90s. Wherever there is something that, especially a disappearance, when we always had that. But moving forward, we saw how Jammeh moved from being just a small dictator to an extremely big tyrant, to become Africa's worst leader. He preyed on the people of the Gambia. And we see that he was the sole provider, basically. Every business he is in, whoever has a beautiful car, he will take it away from you. You have a bigger home, he will take it away from you. So the Gambian people were suffocating. He suffocated them to a point that they can't breathe. And we have tried everything. The people in the diaspora. they have tried. Jammeh has been have always used the diaspora, portrayed the diaspora as the evil one. They don't want, they don't like Gambia. They hate the Gambia and but on the contrary, the people in the diaspora, the Gambians in the diaspora, had done so much to bring awareness to the people of the Gambia on the ground. Unfortunately, the information was suppressed. You know how it's done. These dictators, the most thing that they will do is suppress information because they don't want their dirty laundry to be exposed.
Out there.
And they will use intimidation to make sure that the citizenry is silent. And he was successful in really doing that, achieving and even using our military as slaves. And the civil service, as his servants, they do whatever he wants. Now, how can a country move progressively in that condition? We did so much, like I said before. We engaged the international community. I would say there is no door that we have not knocked, from EU to the United States to Australia, wherever you see that we know that that country will have an influence on what is going on in the Gambia. We knocked at those doors. We saw senators, we saw State Department. Nothing happened. Nothing. Nobody lifted a finger to help the Gambian people. The Gambian people want to help themselves, but the condition that they were living in which they were living, it is not possible without bloodshed. So, election after election, we cannot get him out through elections. There is no, any civil dissent is met by draconian actions, you know. So when we look at this, you know, April 11 and 12 are good examples. So we felt, I know that, you know, in Raleigh, North Carolina, the unity rally that happened in North Carolina in 2014 marked the beginning of integration for all Gambian who are in the diaspora organizations to come together in a unified front to find out what can be done to avert the trend that the Gambia was heading, and to remit and probably to eliminate the plight, to help the Gambian people, the blight that they're in. I travel to Gambia almost every 2 years. And usually what I will do is I will go through Senegal and I will take a ferry and then I'll go out there. That gave me an opportunity to see the pain in the faces of Gambian people. You have to see it. Their eyes are red, they're hungry, they're tired. They're always thinking about where their next meal is going to come from. These were painful circumstances. So our feeling was that if we cannot get them out through election, the international community is a no-go because they won't do anything. We ask ourselves, what other option do we have? What other options do we have? That's what led us to really, we feel that it is our duty. I mean, if you look at the configuration of the people who came here, Njaga was in the military when he came down here. I remember I was sitting down and talking to him, and he was using a military laptop that was issued to him. He was a captain. He has a whole entire unit that were depending on him. He was they were emailing him to find out he cannot respond to them. And I asked him, you are here, you are actually active, and this is you can be charged with AWOL and you can go to prison. You know what his answer was? That I know that's what's going to happen, but I will leave that to the Gambian government to deal with it when that happens.
Yes, sir.
So, in that sense, you can feel the conviction that this person didn't want anything to do with power. His sole mission was to come down and help the Gambian people. You have Lamin Barrow. Lamin was a captain. He has to resign in order to be able to do this. I left the military in 2012. I was in Afghanistan when the whole thing just didn't make sense to me. I remember sitting down in my office in Afghanistan in the middle of the war zone thinking the 2011 election. And I was talking to my colleagues and then I said that there is going to be a riot in the Gambia if Yahya Jammeh steals this election. Lo and behold, Yahya Jammeh stole the election and nothing happened. Everything went back to normal. So now our political party leaders unfortunately didn't do us justice because they did not stand for the Gambian people. The reason why I'm saying that is that if your people are suffering and they are being subjugated, they are being oppressed by the leader that you are against, at least when an election happens, what you should have done is at least to say, you know what, we have to do a recount and see where it's going to lead, just for the Gambian people. But that didn't happen.
Mr. Faal, so let's come back to that after we watch an interview that was made. Actually, the former president was interviewed upon his arrival from, was it Dubai or France? I think he was away when this happened. So when he came back, GRTS actually interviewed him, and we just wanted to watch an insert of that interview. Thanks to GRTS for the video, actually, and then we'll come back to the discussion.
Your Excellency, welcome home. Your Excellency, there have been reports that there was a coup attempt in the country here. Now you are back. What is your statement?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين. Contrary to what first of all, I want to thank the Gambian people for their support, always. I live for the Gambia, I die for the Gambia. I live for Africa, I die for Africa. And I will die fighting for the truth. But no human being can do anything to me, my government, or the Gambia. The Gambia is a blessed country. We have the Almighty Allah on our side, and nobody can do anything about it. Well, it was not a coup. It's a lie that it was a coup. It was attacked by dissidents based in the US, Germany, and UK. You know that all these weapons, some of these things were, some of the materials are US made that they have. And of course, also, we have a comprehensive plan that they have been planning. They have their literature. This was the final stage of their plan. They have stage 1, stage 2, that is, and then the final phase, that is stage 3, that is the attack. And what is interesting is the fact that we were able to get all what they put in the computer. We were able to download everything. We were able to break the code. And the information that I will release tomorrow is very startling. The Gambia Armed Forces are very loyal. As far as we are concerned, there isn't any single participation of the armed forces except in nullifying the attack. So it cannot be called a military coup because I've seen in some media houses saying that there was a coup. This wasn't a coup. This was an attack by terrorist group backed by some powers that I will not name now. But of course we know where the dissidents are based. They always talk about that they are friends of the Gambian people. But what we have seen now, every Gambian would know that they are not friends. It was an attack. and they had the plan. We have all the documents that we will show tomorrow. That they thought that by attacking State House and getting the State House, then the armed forces would join them, because they said, which is a big lie, that the armed forces are disgruntled, and so they were just waiting for that. And in fact, the Gambian people also uh, were disgruntled, and as soon as they attack, they will take over the State House, and then Gambians will flood in their thousands to join them, and that's why they have this cut of weapons. Okay, so so it cannot be called a coup, because a coup has to come from a regular armed forces. Of course, these are also soldiers that were dismissed. One of them was the state guard commander, and he thought that because he was here, he knows everything about this place. Let me tell you one thing: no force can take over this place. No human force, unless by the Almighty Allah, and nobody can destabilize this country. I swear to the Almighty Allah. So anybody who comes to attack this country, be ready, because you're going to die.
Okay. Wow. What an interview. Mr. Faal, can you just tell us your reaction when you heard former President Jammeh's interview?
Uh, you know, I listened to that and I laugh because it's comical. You know, um, the guy, you know, he initiated his speech with thanking Almighty Allah and saying that he loves the Gambia and loves Africa. Yet he looted Gambia's resources to bare bone, and he oppressed the Gambian people, killed their families. There are a lot of people out there right now who can't tell where their family members are. And he stands out there and used God's name to lie to the Gambian people. Now, all those weapons, he said these soldiers were dissidents. They were dismissed. I can assure you nobody was dismissed. I'll tell you why. Every single one of those soldiers who participated in this movement, I call it a movement because I feel that it is a movement to change the course of this country. They are so honorable. For 22 years, how many coup d'etats were attempted? Over 8. They never go from inception. And this is the first time. We were in country for 3 weeks. If he was so intelligent and his staff were so intelligent, they would have caught us. We have all these weapons in our possession. We did not.
Okay, so let me ask you, what was your intention with those weapons? Because those were a lot of sophisticated weapons. And I just wondered, when I saw them on TV, I was wondering what was actually the plan. What were you going to do with the weapons, or who were you expecting to use those weapons?
Well, our first intention was that Sane had high hopes from the Gambian people. We had soldiers who promised him that they would join us. One battalion was one of them. That's why all those weapons were there. If you can see, it was only 8 people who went ahead with the mission. But we didn't need all those weapons ourselves. We brought them because we had assurance that we will have people who will join us.
Okay.
That didn't turn out to be the case. Now, what he was talking about in terms of terrorism, I heard that when I was leaving Gambia, actually, I remember sitting in these 7-seaters. I don't know, they call it the gele gele, or I had 7-seaters. I was sitting in the back, and people were talking that they're saying that Yahya Jammeh has been claiming that it was not a coup d'etat. This was an attempt by disgruntled soldiers who want to destabilize the country. They called them terror. He called them terrorists. He called all of us terrorists.
Yeah, of
Now,
course.
these are the bunch of people who came in to rescue their country from tyranny. If that's terrorism, then I don't know what is righteousness.
Okay,
Because
so where was the funding from? Who funded those weapons and the whole plan?
I did not know. See, the way our operation went, everything was compartmentalized. Certain things were based on need to know. Those who need to know will know. Those who don't need to know won't know. As you can see, this was a very expensive endeavor.
Of course.
We had, by the grace of Chenonjai, when we are looking for, when people, the group was looking for sponsorship, several people wanted to help, but Chenonjai stepped in because he also believed that the people of the Gambia deserve better.
Okay.
And he put in his resources to help. Now, finance, I mean, we had the finances, but if you can see, the finances were finite. I mean, that they were not a lot. Our intention was not to take over the government. That's why I always tell people, we look at Njaga Jan. Njaga was still serving the military. He has to go back, and he will have to face court-martial if he stayed over 30 days or 90 days.
Yeah, because he was going for a while, yeah.
Because he was still working. I was working. I had to take time off from my lecture so I can come in. And I actually bought, my return ticket was made for March. I think it was March 3rd. That's when I was supposed to go back. Right after the operation. We put Njai as the face of the mission because we want to reassure the Gambian people that we are, unlike Jammeh and his terrorists, I should say, because they are the one that terrorize the citizen of the Gambia. If anybody needs to be called a terrorist, it's those people. So we put his face out there to reassure Gambians that we're not here for power. What we needed to do was for him to take power as an interim president, make sure that an election happens, and then we give it back to the civilian, because he was a civilian.
Okay, so let me get this right. Mr. Chenonjai actually financed the whole operation, and then the plan was after the coup becomes successful, then he would be an interim president, and then an election will be held.
An election will be done, so it will be returned back to the people, whoever won the election. We want free and fair election. We want a landscape that is conducive for people's choices. There was no
So
choice.
this was going to be after the operation had, if it had become success, if it was a success, then it would have been a transitional.
It would have been a transitional government, and then none of
An
us.
election would have been held.
I didn't have any position assigned to me. Njaga didn't have any position assigned to him.
Okay.
You know, at least not that I know
Okay,
of.
so you guys did not discuss what position each and every one of you were going to hold if this was a success. There wasn't any discussion on who.
Our intention was that we already had the CDS in our arms.
Okay. Or in your midst, you already had a CDS in your midst.
No, he was not in our midst, but we know where he lives. We know who he was.
Oh,
What our intention was, as soon as this is successful, we will turn it back, the security of the country back to him, and then we are
oh,
out.
okay, okay, okay. So you were just there to probably salvage the country and give back the country to the people.
Give back the country to the people. And that's what everything that happened there, that's what it was.
Okay.
Now,
So did you guys have, were you guys liaising with anybody on the ground, like anybody in the Gambian army that were ready to help? And how many were they?
that is the information that I am not going to be at liberty to discuss. Because of security
Why?
reasons,
Okay.
these are people who are in the armed forces. They are very honorable. They love their country. And I'm not going to do justice to them if I had to discuss their affairs here.
But you're telling us that there were actually people who you were liaising with who were part of the army.
Sure. Yes.
Okay.
We
Okay.
cannot do this alone.
So were you guys betrayed? Like, what happened? Like, because I know some of you were cut, and those people that you were liaising seems to not have come to your aid. So was there any form of betrayal?
It was unfortunate. This should have been an easy process. I said easy, not in the sense that there's not going to be, we didn't anticipate that there's going to be this bloodshed, because the people who were on the ground and the communications that we have and the intel that the people with whom we are talking, I would
Okay.
say that did not come come up with their promise.
Okay. And it seems that State House was the focal point, because that's the place that you guys went.
State House was our last resort. We know that State House being our last resort is because it is going to be the most dangerous place for us to make an operation. Not because of anything, because there are civilians around there. Our operation was conducted, we had several opportunities to take down Jammeh. But at every level, we had to regroup and assess the danger to the civilians. We did
Sure.
everything in our power to make sure that we have either zero civilian casualty. When we do every time we do an assessment and we find out that there are people who might be hurt, especially civilians, we did not take that route. So State House became the target because we feel that Jammeh, first of all, was tipped off. We were a week prior to our engagement when the plan that we are supposed to do to apprehend him, they were actually tipped off by the United States to let them know that we were here. And that was revealed, that was investigated by Washington Post, and it was revealed to the people that the United States actually was the one that tipped off Jammeh about the impending this movement, this operation. So he was very cautious. He did not move. We knew what his movements supposed to be at that time. We had
Okay.
our operation plans, but we had to change at every phase because we have to adjust because the target refused to come out. It's like when you're pouring hot water in a hole to get the rabbit out, and the rabbit still refuses to come out.
Okay.
Jammeh
So you
refused,
guys,
Jammeh
did
refused to
you
come
guys
out, and that's why
proceed?
he left and ran away. Jammeh did not
Okay.
go on his own accord. He ran away. He abandoned the country and left. Because, State House, like I said, was the last resort. We didn't want to
Okay.
go down there and destroy anything. But if we were met with resistance, We had to engage.
So are
Unfortunately,
you saying that Yakin knew this all along?
Jamie knew that we were in town.
So he knew your plans?
He did not know our plans. He know that there are people in country to try to topple him, but he didn't know where we are, who we are, or what needs to happen.
So
We
it
already
seemed
know
that
that
he was
before
ready
we
for
went
you
in.
guys.
Huh?
It seemed that he was already ready for you guys.
He was
Is
ready for
that
us.
it?
That's what I was saying, was that, first of all, we have different layers of betrayal. We have the
Okay.
face of the United States. Unfortunately, I love the U.S. I served in the military for 10 years.
The United States? Like you mean the
But,
United States government?
but there are certain things that happen that, unfortunately, even the people of the United States don't approve. And this was one of them. It was a great disappointment to know that the United States had to take this action to put people's life at risk to tip off Jammeh, the world's worst tyrant.
The
That
United States government, or
unbelievable, right?
saying something.
You can go to Washington Post; it's down there.
Wow.
The Washington Post wrote about it, and right before Washington Post actually released that news on Monday, on Sunday, the United States State Department released a statement to say that they do not support change of government in the Gambia. They do not support any change of regime in the Gambia, just to counter that that press released that information, that post write-up that was supposed to come out. So Sani and I actually had this foreknowledge before we went into State House, because I remember when Sani and I drove to talk to one of the soldiers, and he too had that information that there was a tip-off, that Jammeh knew that this was going to happen. But, you know, we had to, because it's a mission that is already.
Have a plan B, like knowing that anything that happened, like Jamie would have known, or you might have been betrayed. Like, didn't you guys have a plan to say if anything were to happen for the first plan, we actually have another plan to continue the operation?
We had that until, because we had shortfalls in two fronts. The one battalion never came, and you gotta remember, this is only what we're not even 8 people. We're probably about 5 or 6 people who went in there. Actually, it was 8 people, yes, who went in there. We have the Alpha team and the Bravo team. But for every operation, we know that we have to have a support system so we can move forward. When one plan fails, the other one will pick up. But if one support system fails and the second support system fails, then we're left with nothing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, with the victims, especially the late victims, what was your plan, or how did you console their families? How did you explain this to their families, saying that this is what we planned and this is what went down? What exactly did you say to them? Like,
This was a very
when it comes to
difficult.
sympathizing and explaining to them that your family member was involved. This is what we had planned. This is was involved in the coup, and unfortunately, their lives were lost.
That was very difficult. When I left the Gambia, when I got out, because I left on the 1st, Banjul was locked down. I was actually inside of Banjul. I left on the 1st. The information that I was getting and the feeling that I had when we dismissed, because we have the Alpha team and the Bravo team. When we lost casualty, we tried to reach Alpha team. We did not get any response back from them. It was Musa Sar and I. We had to decide that the mission had failed, and that we had to leave. Now, I left with the impression that the whole entire Alpha team was dead. That was very painful. Imagine you go out to on a mission with people, and then you had this feeling you lost people, you lost all of your team members. It's very difficult emotionally. When I got to Senegal, I had this strong feeling of regret, meaning that I lost people. What else do I have to lose? What else do I have to lose? So I had to, when they told me that I'm going to jail forever, for life, I said, that's fine by me. Because the people who lost their lives, were more important than me. So what I felt was that to use the United States government, specifically the FBI, because when I spoke to the FBI, the first thing that I told them was that we lost people, and we need to have their family members informed. And I told them about Njaga Jany, who was in the military, and I told them about Jaja Nyas, and I told them about Lamin Sane. And I begged them to have their family members informed, because I don't have their numbers, and some of these family members probably do not know that this operation was going to happen. Our military way is that when casualty happens, there is a right channel that the next of kin's supposed to be informed, which supposed to be informed. So, so for me, the right channel was through the FBI. I had no choice but to tell them about these people who died. It was painful. And each and every one of us who are living today, we can feel their pain. I mean, I met Sane's mom the other day, and I met Njaga's mom in the US, and I met her here too. This is a very painful, it's a wound that remains deep.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I understand. It's really painful. It's a wound that will take time to heal, of course.
yes,
Yeah, I'm really sorry that you had to go through that tragedy with people that you've known, friends probably, and you just have to live with it. It's sad.
one thing,
So
yeah, I was gonna say one thing is that whoever served in the military knows that if you go to battle with somebody, from that moment you become brothers and sisters,
of course.
because you put your life in each other's hands. You protect the guy next to my left and to my right. And when you come out from there, you are family forever. So for us, we feel that we lost our family members. You know, Njaga these people are amazing individuals, if you know them, at the personal level. The conviction that they have for this country, the love that they have for this country, and each and every one of them, when you talk to them, there's a reason. These people have everything to lose. They have everything. Each and every one of them are successful individuals in their own right.
So, Mr. Fa, how did you manage to escape? How did you leave the country after what happened?
See, I always tell people that my grandkids have to tell the story. So I will leave it for my grandkids. Wait until 10 years from now or 20 years from now, then you can ask my grandkids. They will tell you.
This reminds me of somebody that I met, and he was like, "Okay, I have a story to tell you. My grandfather attended the World War II, and I think that will kind of entice you to like me more." So,
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So, this is to our viewers. We would not be able to ask all. We have so many questions to ask Mr. Fall, and it will be so. I mean, it's unfortunate that we will not be able to ask all these questions.
Yes.
But he's in the country, and we will have him again on iAfrica in the coming weeks because they have a lot of plans. They have press conferences that they are going to be holding
Yes.
to talk to the media and to talk to the public about what happened and just to clear the air. So I think everybody can look forward to those events and
Yes.
probably raise their questions there.
Yeah.
But as far as Africa is concerned, we will have Mr. Fall again in the coming weeks, like I said, and then we'll be able to continue this discussion with him.
Yeah.
But before I let you go, Mr. Fall, I have some few more questions to ask. I just wanted to know what was your personal reason, you as a person. I wish I could talk to each and every member to know what their personal reason was, but I would like to know you, your personal reason why you wanted to, that motivated you to want to go ahead with this operation. Because I understand that as Gambian, we all wanted a better Gambia. Yeah, even though he did some few good things, but the bad things that he did, overshadowed all the good things that we just wanted him to leave. So, what was your personal reason? Some of us had family members who were victims. We were victims, and yeah. So, I just want to know your personal reason why you wanted to do this.
Well, for me, it was important because at the heart of everything, whatever we have each other, our country. Um, I served in the military, like I said, for 10 years. It's a foreign land. I inherited it, but I served it with honor. I went to Afghanistan. I served there with honor. But while I was doing that, my people were lingering in oppression, in destitution, and under tyranny. Um, the choices were clear. Is either we take an action that is an evil one, I should say, a necessary evil to free people who are under oppression, or we stay back and just watch and hope and pray that things are going to change. For me, that is not an answer. Um, I have a passion for Gambia, and and I love the Gambian people. The reason why I'm saying this is that every time, like I say, that I come into this country, I never fly. There was only one time I flew in on Yundum through Yundum Airport, but every time I go through the ground because I get to see the picture of how people are living and the pain that they are going through. That really gave me an impetus to really assess my own life. And when the opportunity came for me to join the team, I never questioned it because I know that it was the right thing to do. So that was the reason why I joined in.
That's passionate. Can you tell us what your plans for the future is? I know it's almost 3 years.
I don't
Like
know.
it's almost 3 years since it happened. The third anniversary is less than a week.
Yeah.
So what plans do you have for the commemoration of the December 30th
Well,
event?
we have our comrades coming back. I
Nice.
wanna reassure the Gambian people that we're coming back home. We're not coming back to conduct any subversive mission. The change that we wanted is already here. Now it is left to the Gambian people themselves to cherish it, to fight for it, to hold it, because we know that freedom is very costly, and that tells you when with all these people who we have lost, freedom is very costly, and no tyrant rules forever, because at some point, people like us will always rise up, and it could be for good, and it could be for bad, because we all know the event that happened in 1981, even though we were not living under tyranny, it is never good. Military actions are not good. They
No,
never
it,
have a good outcome, but sometimes they are necessary. That's why I call it a necessary evil, because Gambia was at a point where it's either we go to civil war or this happens. And this is what we choose before civil war happens, to liberate this Gambia. I remember in April when we went to see a State Department official in the United States, and I sat down and we told them that the Gambia is on a timing bomb. It's a ticking bomb, timing bomb. If nothing is done, we will see the likes of Rwanda. I remember saying that. I did not get any response, not positive response. Everything was just the status quo, everything remains. So this was necessary for us to do it, like I said, that military operations are a necessary evil. Sometimes they are the last resort, but done well, it can cause some change. I always tell people, the December 30 did not fail, because for everything that happens, our operations didn't succeed the way we planned it. The aftermath is what we wanted. That is, to expose Jammeh's weakness, to show the Gambian people that this guy who he pretends to be the God of all people, because I feel that that's what he put himself to the equals. He speaks
yeah.
God, but his heart is so dark like charcoal. He is a selfish man. He's a thief. He's cruel. He has no conscience. Now, it's either we live with that or we have our freedom. And like I said before, you have a freedom, cherish it, hold it, fight for it. Don't let anybody take it away from you again. If you do, we will see the same thing over again. Now, I'm going to go back to December, this coming event.
Mr. Faal, I'm sorry, but my producers are in my ear. Time is not is
Yeah,
really against us.
let me
I have one last question.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm sorry. Go
let me
ahead.
run through these schedules, the plans
Okay.
that we have coming in.
Okay.
December 29th, we will have a memorial service, a diaspora Juma prayers
Okay.
with Imam Babali.
Okay.
December 30 is when the heroes, we call them heroes, are going to come back here. They're going to come. That is Alaji Barrow and Chenonjai. They're going to arrive here on the 3rd of January. Duga's press conference will happen at the University of the Gambia. And on the 5th, we will have Juma prayers with Imam Babali. And then we will have, along with the December 30 heroes, on the 6th, we will have a meeting with the victims, all the victims. We will at the Victims Center, so the Gambia Victims Center for the Human Rights. We will discuss, and then we will see. They will talk to the Gambian people, so the Gambian people can see what they went through, and they can talk to the government and see what they want, their demands. You know, whether they want the corpses of their family members. It's been too long now. I think it is time for these people to have closure. The more their family, their relatives are kept away and not buried, the more pain they go through. So I think it's high time for the government to realize that this is hurting the family members. They need to have their family members back so they can get buried properly. And you know, we will have on the 13th, we will have a memorial service for the fallen heroes, and we will have a press conference. We will have the interviews, the Standard newspaper. We'll have interviews with everybody, whoever wants to come. So
Okay.
that will be
So
the.
that's the plan, viewers. That is what they have for them. But I have one last question, Mr. Fag.
Sure.
What is your view of this current government so far?
You see, it's a young government. I think 22 years cannot be erased in 22 days or 1 year.
Of
We have to
course,
be
12
patient.
months.
We have to be patient. But I said we have to be patient, but the press, you have to be accountable. You are here for the people. You are the eyes of the people. You got to do your job. You don't have to do it forcefully. You don't have to write false information just to sell papers. But you have to hold the government accountable, because if a government is not accountable, this is what happened with Yahya Jammeh. We didn't hold him accountable.
Yeah, because
Like I
he was
say, we have
stifling the
to,
press.
because that's what I'm saying. Let's give them a chance, and support them at the same time. Hold them accountable, and they too need to know that it is the people who put them there, and they need to serve the people. I always use this thing that I said, government is like a CEO and a company. You have the board of directors and you have the CEO. The board of directors are responsible for the CEOs. They can fire them. The Gambian people are the board of directors. And if we relinquish that role, then the CEO is going to do whatever he wants.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Faal. He said the press should be holding the government accountable. And I think so far we're doing a good job on that aspect. And we really appreciate you joining our studios back in the Gambia, in Wellingara. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us there and have this interview. We would have loved to ask we have so many questions in store. We would have loved to ask more questions and widen the discussion, but time is not really on our side.
Yes.
And as you understand that this was really prompt, and I was woken up from bed to come and do this. But thank you very much, Mr. Faal. And I just want to tell our viewers that we will be playing the full interview of the former president interview with GRTS some 3 years ago when the December 30th event happened. And for that reason, thank you, Mr. Faal. Thank you, our viewers. Thank you, Lamin, and all the iAfrica crew back in the Gambia. Have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year in advance. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm surprised also to know that there are people that went out of their way to say that I have a Facebook. I don't. I don't. I don't, in fact, browse the internet.
You have a Facebook account.
I don't have any Facebook account. I'm not a member of any media, social media platform. I don't even browse them. I don't check anything. I'm not on any social media. And I would warn those who are doing, even if they have a good intention, let them not use my name, because that's criminal. Somebody was prosecuted for that who used, in fact, he even called a general in Canada and said that I was going to appoint him ambassador to Canada. And the guy was almost about to come here. And he wrote to say, when is he coming? And we made it very clear that the protocols were surprised that he said he was talking to me on my Facebook. But we were able to trace the person, and the guy has been prosecuted and is in jail. And each time there is something, remember when there was this executions, Al Jazeera had nobody to interview but Bakari Bunjadawo. This time, in fact, when I saw him, I couldn't recognize him. He looked like somebody from outer space. And he was saying that my government is the most repressive. He said, I even kill footballers for playing football. But Gambians are not fools. So when somebody is desperate. But Bakari Bunjadawa has forgotten that he used to slap people, he used to beat people in his office. He has forgotten that. As vice president, he used to do whatever he wanted. He was so arrogant. And he didn't tell them the fact that he served in my government and ran away, because he knew what he did. But I didn't talk to any news media, not even the Chadian. They didn't even ask me questions. The first time I'm talking about what has happened is here in Gambia and today. Yes. So I also want to thank the AU. They condemn it, but it's not a coup. They should at least condemn the terror attack. But of course, from the array of gadgets that you can see here, that one, bring me that. Yes. This is the latest version of night vision goggles. I know when I went on training, we were using bigger ones. Now this is so modern that it's very small and they are very sophisticated. You can see also this is 12.7. This is for vehicles, anti-aircraft. This is, and they have two guns for that. But what was also interesting is the fact that everything is in their documents. Everything is documented. Where they bought it is documented. Who they contacted with is also. So we will show some of that tomorrow. Since the investigation is ongoing, we will show you, and then it's up to you Gambians to read between the lines.
But are you surprised with the kind of weapons you've seen on this?
Yeah, I'm surprised because they are very expensive. So Lamin Sane, who just left not long ago, where was he able to get all the financing for this? Because uh, this particular weapon may cost you about $30,000. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, if it is on the cheap side. So I don't know exactly. You can see. Try to lift it. It's safe. Just lift it. So these are very expensive weapons, and okay, what they did was code the prices and where they're going to buy them. But of course, these weapons are very expensive.
What's your message to your counterpart among African leaders, new breed of Pan-Africanists, and people who believe in social justice?
Well, my message for them, those who believe in Africa and those who are Pan-Africanist leaders, they are very few. But whatever the case may be, let the resources be for the benefit of your citizens, not outside companies or outside countries. You can see that when you give them all what they want, even if you kill people, thousands, they turn the other way. Say it's a democracy or it's fighting something, so and so. We've seen countries where people are massacred, rounded up and shot like dogs without any trial, without even evidence that they did anything wrong. They were never condemned. But here, when you deal with criminals that they have sponsored, they say, oh, it's a gross violation of human rights. But Gambians should know who are our friends and who are not our friends. And nobody can fool me. Oh, yes, good relations. Nobody is telling me to fight terror. Because I'm a true Muslim, and anything that is going to spoil the name of Islam, I'm going to fight it. I'm not doing it for anybody or to have friends. That's my belief. Islam is a noble religion of peace. And so these agents that they have sponsored to give Islam a bad name, we are going to fight them tooth and nail. I'm not doing it to please anybody. I'm doing it to defend true Islam, that is the religion of the Almighty Allah, and not these people that are sponsored, those drunkards that are sponsored to destabilize countries for these people to have access to their natural resources.
Final note, would you want to publicly, again, in the light of this development, reaffirm your commitment to the security of the Gambian people?
Now, without security, you cannot worship the Almighty Allah. And I would rather die than see a situation that prevents me from worshiping the Almighty Allah, or any Gambian being prevented from worshiping the Almighty Allah. So security does not compromise. Security does not compromise. And let the Gambians be assured of security. Let them go around their personal business. But also those who connive with people like this, be ready, because I'm going to set an example. Because some people help them to bring these weapons in, hide them up to the day of operation. And I want all the same Gambians to be policemen of their own. Because, thank God they attack the State House. Imagine if they attack innocent people. It would have been a catastrophe for Gambian people. So let them know that their security is paramount. Let nobody fool them. That's all I have to. Because they will anybody involved in this will pay a high price, and very soon. Not even very soon, and I mean very soon. So let them go and enjoy themselves. Security. You have a loyal armed forces, you have a very loyal police and all the security forces in this country. And what is more important, Allah is with us. Where the army cannot see, Allah would see them. Yes. So all of us should be united as a country. And let us understand that what we have here is what they want to destroy. They don't want us to move forward. They don't want to see a small independent Gambia develop. But we will develop whether they like it or not. by the grace of the Almighty Allah. Yes. So go around and play your. Okay, but one security that I warn you is don't drink.
Thank you, sir.
Uh, don't drink. Don't don't sniff. Don't. Boy, recommend.